All right, hi everybody. I'm Coach Dennis Stoica with Modern Air Warriors. Welcome back once again for another amazing podcast with another person, an amazing guest today, Coach Tony Blauer. Always bringing on like-minded people that are doing things that we do with regards to performance coaching. We're going to talk a little bit about fear today, knowing fear. We're going to talk about reality-based self-defense, which is unbelievable. My main push, what Tony's done for 4 decades or more with regards to his devotion to law enforcement, military, moms, dads, even, right? Everybody out there with the various different programs that he has as well. But hey, let's get right into it. Coach Tony Blauer is a world-renowned self-defense and fear management expert. He's been a visible force in the martial art, self-defense, defensive tactics, and combatives industry for over 4 decades, folks, over 4 decades. My entire 33 plus year career in law enforcement and for the military, I've known of him almost that entire 40-year period. As a CEO of Blauer Tactical Systems, his organization has grown into one of the world's leading consulting companies specializing in research and development of performance psychology, personal safety, close quarters tactics, scenario-based training for defensive tactics. We're going to hopefully have some more of that conversation, combatives, professional self-defense instructors, and more. Just lost him. He'll be back online here in a second. He'll log back in here. He's best known for developing the world's first self-defense system based on science of psychology and physiology called the Spear system, as well as the world's first dynamic scenario training equipment called High Gear, which we'll get into as well, and I own, which is amazing. Blauer's training systems and equipment are used by the military, law enforcement, martial artists, and citizens around the world. Now let's talk about mindset, goals, obstacles, and fear. Coach Blauer's performance psychology programs also help leaders, entrepreneurs, families develop the mental and physical resilience needed to succeed, including navigating volatile business environments and handling physical threats. The one-of-a-kind fear management program called No Fear is used by thousands around the world. The program has also been integrated by psychologists helping vets deal with PTSD. And we're going to talk about some resources that he has out there for you too, right? When the shift hits the fan, there's an ebook out there that you can get for free on his site. There's a free management starter bundle that's on his site as well. Private coaching he has available, right? We're going to get into all the different types of programs that he has in person, online, streaming, on demand, etc. here, newsletters that he has, etc. So, hey, bringing Coach back online here. Bringing Coach just finishing your bio. Sorry you missed that. You got logged off accidentally. All good. But hey, it was amazing. The bio was amazing.
I thought my computer just froze. Did you log me off?
No. It I don't know what happened. You just went by. So
I went and grabbed a laptop just in case because
okay.
Like I said, my computer's been doing weird stuff, so hopefully that won't happen.
Good to go. No problem. So hey, we're live. Just did the bio. Everyone knows who you are, what you do, a little bit about the business, and we will start out then directly since you missed it a little bit. I would normally say, would you like to add something, but you kind of missed it.
No.
I'm just gonna jump right in today.
We'll get into the conversation for sure.
Yeah. First question always to everybody is, who are you, right? Who is Coach Tony Blauer? What is your why, purpose, passion, and principles in life? Like, why are you doing what you're doing, and what do you do, right?
I have been obsessed with managing fear and understanding violence since I'm a kid. You know, I'm 66 now, and I grew up in the 60s. I was always obsessed with all the action TV shows back then, you know, black and white turning into color, but all the, you know, whether it was the original Batman and Robin and the Mannix and Streets of San Francisco and all these action shows, Wild Wild West. But I was always glued to the screen, but it wasn't just like, you know, popcorn watching this stuff. I was in it. I'd flinch. You know, like when you watch a good fight and you're really into it, and sometimes you kind of move with the fighter. I was just obsessed with the stuff, but I was also simultaneously, it was real for me, even as like a young kid. You know, I'd walk outside and, you know, what if somebody was there? What if somebody attacked me here? I was always thinking about stuff, but I didn't feel situationally aware. I felt actually unprepared And of course, at that age, I don't have any training, but it wasn't like Pink Panther. You remember the Pink Panther when you jump out and attack Clouseau? It wasn't, and some people might not know what I'm talking about because I'm so old. It's like the old Pink Panther.
I know what you're talking about. We're both old.
But I was, so it wasn't like a fun thing. It was, I would get nervous. I would get that dysregulated physiological change, right? That anticipation. And when I was 12 years old, I got jumped by a couple of kids from a high school up the street. And kind of that was like a turning point, because I went home, told my dad about it, and he said, I basically said, I'm not going to go to school, right? And I'm too afraid to go to school. I was 12 years old. And he goes, well, you are going to school and you got to learn how to fight. So there was only one school in the area, Taekwondo school. I signed up there. But it was almost like this full circle where I realized, wow, if I learned how to fight, all that fear I had in the first 10 years of my life would disappear. And so I became obsessed with martial arts and boxing. And of course, that was 1972, is the year before Bruce Lee passed away. And then that was the golden era, the explosion of everything martial arts. I mean, he changed the world for everybody. Everyone, even to this day, people are Bruce Lee like fanatics.
Yeah. So, Tony, at that time too, were you in California?
No, I grew up in Montreal, Canada.
Yep,
and lived there. I only moved to the States in 2008-ish.
Okay.
To Virginia Beach, and then I moved to Cali, SoCal in 2010. But my whole thing, when I discovered Bruce Lee, I understood something about something. I didn't know what it was, but I actually said, and this is a story I've told on many podcasts. I'm sitting on the floor. I'm about 15 or 16 years old, trying to do the splits. I'm looking at Bruce Lee magazines, and my mom comes over, and we had a family business, 2 generations running a clothing business. And she says, are you going to go into your father's business, or do you know what you want to be? Do you want to be a police officer? Do you want to be an astronaut? Do you want to be a lawyer, a doctor? And I looked up and I said, oh, Mom, school's not going to be that important to me. I'm going to become a famous martial artist like Bruce Lee. I'm going to develop my own self-defense system. And she pat me on the head and said, okay, dear, we'll talk about this when you're older. I mean, true story, man, verbatim. I still remember it. I think about it often, but it wasn't like a grandiose thing. That might sound obnoxious and grandiose, but remember, I'm 15 years old, and all I've been doing is living with the fear of violence. And there was something almost like if you read the original Bruce Lee stories, it's almost like the Bruce Lee version of Stallone's Rocky story. To like one of Bruce's lines, "To hell with circumstances, I'll create my own circumstances."
Yeah.
And being put down, the prejudice he had in Hollywood, and all the stories that I just felt like that was a story for anyone's life, and it hit me. And I guess the naive 15-year-old was, if Bruce Lee can get his shit together, practicing and teaching self-defense, so can I. And but what was funny is, years later, many people, including people in the Jeet Kune Do community, would say to me things like, who do you think you are, Bruce Lee? Because I was coming up with my own stuff. And I always thought that was cute. I was like, why is it okay for your hero to come up with it, but not somebody else? Like somebody invented every martial art.
100%, right? That's a conversation I kind of love and hate at times too, right? Because those that I've studied from have learned from somebody, right? So you still had a base too. That doesn't mean that you can't look at things, see if it fits your system. It doesn't mean that I can't look at something and say, does it fit the concepts and principles that my system or what I teach or what I'm promoting does or doesn't do, right? And so, like reality-based self-defense for cops and for law enforcement, for military, and I would even argue real, true self-defense, right? We can like, what is the definition of that for a young lady or an elderly man or a couple, a man and woman that's older or whatever? What does that look like? What does it mean to somebody? Or is it the Taekwondo school that says, no, we teach people punching each other, standing face to face, or even the BJJ school that you know, where they're fighting, right? Is that self-defense? I think that's fighting personally, but I think a lot of what we're doing today, right? What you're teaching people, what you're promoting is the defense aspect of it too, right? Not to stay in the fight sometimes, but we can get more into that as well when we talk about your different programs that you do offer, right, and things of that nature. But hey, I think that's a good segue into then what is your business and what is it all about, right? You have training courses, you have online, you have on demand, you have personal coaching, you have corporate, etc. So tell everyone a little bit about what is your business.
So just an FYI, it says there's a recording error over here on my screen. I don't know if you see that.
I'm recording. I'm good. I know you guys are also doing something. I got a message from you guys that you guys were recording as well.
Oh, so I don't know.
We're
good. I just saw this red thing flash up. It's back on. Okay, sorry about that.
I'm good.
So my whole obsession is with fear, and this is how I build my courses and train my courses. So if someone says, "Well, I'm afraid to get sued," well, like that's a different answer. I'm afraid to lose. That's a different answer. I'm afraid to die. That's a different answer. I'm afraid that I won't stop. Like I've had that. Like I'm afraid that I'll just explode and I won't be able to control it. All of these are different shades and layers of fear. So I always talk about, Dennis, like the mind navigates the body, and what we have is managed fear and mismanaged fear in every aspect of our life. You want to work on your marriage, managed fear or mismanaged fear. You want to work on your relationship with your kids. You want to start a business. You want to quit a job. You want to get to work. All fear. I've never found a more pure vehicle to understand fear than fighting. But a lot of people are, especially type A males, aren't there. This is ironic. They're afraid to talk about fear. It's like, I'm not afraid of anybody, which is why like our brand, and this is like, one of our main company brands is No Fear. And for anyone who's just listening to this and not watching, it's spelled KNOW. So it's changing your relationship with fear. And I always tell people, like in our No Fear program, you can't be brave if you're not afraid. So if you're in a gunfight as a cop, or you're experiencing what feels like a home invasion, or it's a road rage incident, if you're a good Samaritan, there's always going to be fear. I don't think even the professional military law enforcement, public safety community does enough talking and education about the psychology of fear. Like everyone talks, and Dave Grossman's a good buddy of mine. They talk about fight, flight, freeze from his stuff, right? His whole the original on killing research and book that he did. And so when people refer to fear, they talk about really just fight, flight, freeze. Those are post-incident observations. I was freaking out and I just froze. Oh, okay, freeze. I just ran. Oh, flight. Oh, I just went nuts. But you can't just go nuts in a fight. You're a cop, you know that. You can't. It's like, why did you, even to the point of how many rounds did you fire? Why did you fire? Like, we're like, holy shit, I'm in a death match and you want me to count rounds? So my company, we've been researching this since the 80s. But intuitively, we were doing Fight Club fights before Fight Club was a movie. If you remember back in the 80s, the panic attack. The only difference was we were smart enough to wear those Kyokushinkai super safe helmets. So we didn't, break our supraorbital ridge, or we didn't look like Ilya Tapia after the last Gaethje fight, right? You had the
headgear, the full face headgear
on. So you could headbutt an elbow and do some stuff. You'd still get, stunned. And no doubt we had elements of TBI, but we tested the theories. And that was one of the big things in the 80s and why the exploration for the business. And I don't know if I'm getting too much into philosophy and you wanted to talk more about the business structure, but we have spear care for care and services, hospital, psychiatric. We have a whole trauma-informed division. We have the spear for military law enforcement. We have a program for, martial arts entrepreneurs like yourself, where you could say, well, you teach Krav as your foundation, how does our scenario training, our fear management, and our startle flinch conversion system fit? How does it grow your business? How does it? I've got really good interviews. Got a really interesting interview with Katie Hurd, who's won Krav Instructor of the Year in one of the associations, and she's the self-defense, main self-defense instruction for Kieran Fitzgibbons up at Combat Sports Academy, which is one of the best real fighting schools in the world. Near San Francisco. So she teaches spear there, but I had her on my podcast where she said like one of her black belts was in a confrontation where the fight happened unlike the practice, and his movement was a startle flinch, push away danger, create space. So we always say, spear is a bridge to your next move. If you don't weather the ambush, you're going to get to the complex motor skills that you've been practicing all these years. So But to weather the ambush, you've got to manage the fear, and then you've got to move through a primal gross motor sequence because that's what the body does. So we built business around all of that, Dennis, and now we've got stuff whether it's for entrepreneurs, executives, online. So it's quite diverse.
Yeah. You have many courses that you have out there. I can't even list them all, right? They're one-day courses that are out there about, knowing for your seminar that you have. There's a bodyguard workshop that you have, right? I'll name a few here, right? So defensive tactics certification for military law enforcement, evidence-based scenario trainers, right? 4-day law enforcement military program again, no room to shoot, military law enforcement, lots of other different programs that you have, 1 day, 3 day, 4 day for law enforcement military, right? But you also have programs that are out there for executive protection, right? For those that are interested. I have friends in that industry as well that are into that. Very good friend overseas that provides this type of training to others that are doing that type of work as well for executives. But again, EMS, paramedics, healthcare, persons that are doing those types of jobs along with law enforcement as well. People that I'm working with on the street every day too. They need help. I don't care whether you're a nurse in the emergency room too. People can go crazy anywhere, right? And there's issues, right? And we're seeing more and more. I think today too. People are maybe asking their big corporations to. I had some discussions with one or two this past year about doing some stuff too, right? Corporate team events, things of that nature too. Less frequent, but sometimes private families, things of that nature as well. People that are concerned, they just want their family protected, that want to learn a little something as well, right? Or even customizing some courses as well for someone. I know you'll do that as well for people, right? There's obviously core, again, concepts and principles that run through the courses. You have different avatars, if you will, right? The mom or the dad, the family, or the corporate person, or the law enforcement military, right? They're different folks, right? And sometimes their mission is a little different. Law enforcement has to put people in handcuffs at the end of the day. And then, mom and dad or someone else just has to survive, right? That violent confrontation too. More about winning the fight instead of putting someone in handcuffs, et cetera. And even the military, right, has different, to some extent, even a little bit more different than even law enforcement. But is there anything you can talk to us about with regards to a similar concept, right, that's running through the courses, any type of discussions that you're having during those courses, right, in addition to just, beating people up with the physical techniques, the self-defense techniques, right? And I shouldn't say beating up, right? Practicing, right? What you're teaching, the attacks and the defenses.
Yeah, so that's an interesting question, and I'm going to answer it with a story from the late '80s in Montreal, where I'd been in the news and local papers, and I was like, one of the go-to self-defense schools, so people knew me and come in this this husband father comes in, and I had a big school in downtown Montreal, and he comes in, he worked near me, and he's interviewing me because he traveled. Questions. Well, what if they're bigger? What if it's two people? What if this? I said, I said, look, these are choiceless choices, but what I've done is I've created a program that I call based on how the human weapon system works, understanding the neurobiology of fear, understanding what that does to our kinetic chain and kinematics, because, and you see this in pro fights, whether it's MMA or boxing, you see it in gunfights. Most cops, like less than 20% accuracy in a gunfight.
Yeah.
And so, but you could not be issued a gun if you were shooting at 20% on the range to qualify, right? So I think I'm frozen. There, I'm back.
You're back. Yep, you're back. All right, lost Tony for just a second here. He'll sign back on here. Froze a little bit earlier. Standing by for him to come back. I'll log him back on here in a second. We'll continue our podcast. All good. Just give him about another 30 seconds or so. Great conversation so far on who Tony Blauer is, his business, a little conversation with regard to the training courses, many, too many to list them all. I have over a page worth of different types of programs that he puts together, again, specifically for law enforcement, military, EMS, paramedics, healthcare workers, etc., moms, dads, corporations that want to bring them in for events to talk about fear or do something with regards to self-defense, whether that's at the business, in the home, things of that nature, right? And also customization for people as well. And so once again, standing by for Tony to come back on here. Here he comes. And we're back live. And we're back live.
I'm on my laptop. I have no
Okay.
idea.
Yeah, you're good.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, everybody who was into whatever I was saying there.
Oh, good. I did a little recap while you're gone, Tony, what we talked about so far, with regard to your business programs, and you started talking about a little bit about what's running through the programs a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So so I was telling a story about this husband, father came in, and he's asking me stuff, and so I'm explaining. You got to manage the fear first. The fear will do things to your body that we're talking about, like shooting. Like on the range, you qualify, and then in the gunfight, you miss because you're flinching. But you're flinching because of fear, and nobody's explaining this in a way the end user, the operator, whether it's a cop or a mother, understands. It's like, hey, if you do this, it's the old, oh, do this 10,000 times and it'll become muscle memory. And people realize that muscles literally don't have memory, right? It's a myelinated neuron. It's a motor engram. There's neuroscience that people don't even understand that can explain why I did all of this, and then when the fight happened, I went, and it was punching like this. It wasn't effective. The mind navigates the body. You got to manage the first fight, which is the fight in your mind. So back to the story, I explained physiology, kinesiology, psychology. And he's like, holy shit, I'm going to sign my wife up. This sounds amazing. And he goes, look, I travel a lot to some like pretty sketchy places. Do you have a program for men? And I smile, Dennis, and I go, yeah, it's the same one I teach women.
Yeah.
Right? So here's the thing. When I'm working with a tier 1 operator, when I'm working with an acronym agency, when I'm working with a local, state, or federal police, or I'm working with women or women's shelter, they get the same.
We all fear.
They got to manage their fear. They got to understand neurobiology, physiology. The difference is the scenario and the training they get. And if you look at, and I was, you've been following me for a long time, so I've been talking about this before anyone else, like 40 years ago. In the 80s, we created the panic attack drill in 1980. The panic attack drill was, the tongue-in-cheek, I don't use the term anymore because like panic attacks and anxiety and depression got so much traction in the world. But in the 80s, I called it the panic attack drill because you and I would show up to the seminar like Fight Club and go, yeah, if somebody does this, I'll do that. And then we would do these fights and nobody did what they thought they were going to do. It would be this chaos, entanglement. And it was like, what happened there? And people are like, helmet comes off, and they're like, what the fuck, man? And tunnel vision, auditory exclusion, all this stuff.
Yeah, and this leads to reality-based training, right? Doing scenario-based trainings, which we'll talk about here in a second too, right? Which is different than just teaching someone back and forth striking too, right? Putting them in scenarios that are specific to them, like the paramedic or the police officer. And the great news is that law enforcement, over my time in law enforcement, is 100% doing more scenario-based training. They're looking at specific attacks versus like you need to become a martial artist, be a purple belt or a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. Yeah, they promote certain things, right? But there's nothing more wanted if among law enforcement. I can speak for mine, see others in the area here, others that I talk to, right? Great to have a program. I won't mention different programs that are out there, right? With regard, and there's many great programs out there for jiu-jitsu, etc. But at the end of the day, the end users wanting scenario-based training too. They're wanting the discussion that you have with regards to fear and understanding what goes along with it. And yeah, we do have to practice still, right? We do have to identify the threat and have gross motor skills working, like so techniques that are going to fit your system, right? That are gross motor skills, nothing extensive, etc. The programs you have, we talked a little bit about the programs, right? Or I listed a few of them. You also have some online training as well, whether that like weekly stuff that you put out, and that you have some on-demand type courses too, and some challenges. If you can talk to a little bit about the online training that you have that's available to people too, or even some of the on-demand and the challenges that you have out there as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to debunk something where people say you can't learn self-defense online. You absolutely can. If you got an open mind, if you're coachable, you can learn stuff. Is it more fun in person? Yeah, it's like us going to dinner versus we could eat here and talk and catch up. But it'd be more fun if we could actually clink glasses and go cheers.
Sure.
So, of course, in person has better assets and opportunities. But if you can't get to training, or if you've identified a blind spot in your training, and there's a subject matter expert that fills that, then get that negative mindset out of your head. There's a lot of people you can't learn. Our stuff is so cerebral that and we do things like, so we do. We have a thing called the Tactical Library, which is like the Netflix of self-defense. There's over 900 classes in there. We do active shooter, courageous bystander, multiple assailant. And we're taking, in a lot of the cases, we take real violent encounters and I break them down. And then I show things people could have done pretty simply. We had a guy, there's a story on our tactical library landing page, this guy from Florida who he's in his kitchen. And he's getting the garbage out, and the family's in the TV room. They finished dinner. He's getting ready to take the garbage out. He's opened the garage door, and he looks on his Ring camera monitor, and he sees a guy walking up his driveway with a pistol in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy shoots, but his gun's not on him in his kitchen. So he sees, like, the guy's coming into his garage. He goes, if I run upstairs and grab my gun, this guy will be in the house. So he runs to the garage door and opens it as the guy's walking in. And the guy points the gun at him. And I'm not going to tell the whole story, but he defeats the guy and sends me a message. There was a rash of active shooters, and I filmed a 14-minute video on Instagram because I was just so sick of it. I said, look, I saw these, like, again, RBSD, reality-based self-defense, which I look at, a lot of them are just an extension of classical karate, but you're wearing BDUs. It's still complex motor skills. It's still people trying to do the style. You can see like which system is what. And of course, like you said earlier, there are a lot of good things out there, but there's a lot of crap out there. There's a lot of
there is
there that not everyone should be teaching self-defense. And so what I do, and I'm off on a little tangent, I've got to do a rant before we sign off, is a conscientious professional continues to educate, right? And continues to educate themselves and wants the best for their students, their community. And there's a lot of stuff out there that is very presumptuous. And a lot of it is, we're going to do this scenario, but the goal is for you to use the technique I taught you. And that's not real scenario training. Real scenario training is for you to first stress inoculate so that you develop a relationship with the fear and the problem, because that's where emotional psychological regulation happens. And now you can make a good use of force decision, whether you're a citizen or whether you're military. It's all starts with managing fear. But the stuff we do online, you asked me about online, it's literally like this. It's me talking either in my office or in my garage gym, which is like loaded with fighting equipment, and I'm teaching. The online stuff is basically the framework on that is my assumption is you're a lone operator, a solo practitioner who can't get to a gym, or you can't afford to get to me or get to one of my live workshops. And so you're still getting all of the detail and all the substance, all the drills. And even I in many ways, I like the Zoom recordings more than live classes in some cases. And I never thought I'd say that, because I prep for it. We do this thing on Tuesdays, Tactical Tuesdays. Everyone listening to this should check it out. We offer free 4 classes if you go to our if you go to what is it, tacticaltuesday.blauertactical.com, I think it is. I'll double check that. Okay. And you can put in your email at the bottom, and it'll send you 4 classes. The amount, it's like 40 years of information. It's like holy shit. Yeah. And every class makes you safer, but you're not doing anything. You're training your brain, because at the end of the day, what we're trying to enhance or improve is mind speed. If you can think fast, you can move fast. But just the fact that you can demo something fast at your own, it's like being on the range, beep, and you draw. There's value to saying that, but that doesn't test the suddenness factor when the bad guy starts to fight. Most of the training.
I refer to that as reducing the reactionary gap, right? Reducing the reactionary gap. See issue. You have to think about what I just saw and then acting, right? Resolve that. So my personal 2 cents too, I agree with you 100%. I do think online training has a very good place into what we do, right? So especially if we're going to train under somebody. So if you're going to train under Tony Blauer, other persons that are out there, different associations, right? Great to be able to have that one-on-one contact. Definitely promote going to visit you. Definitely promote courses, right, in person. But in the meantime, in between that too, right, people can still touch you, still train with their battle buddy at home, maybe someone else that can't go to, right? Or maybe somebody wants to go. Maybe I know people that are like fathers. They went to a course and they're coming home and they're teaching their kids, right? Sure. That are 15, et cetera, or whatever too, right? So people have different reasons too. Or again, maybe they're in my position as a coach, right? And they're going to take what you have from in person and have that connectivity with the association and teaching your own gym or your own law enforcement association, et cetera. So I think it's great to have a mix of it too, not just one or the other. So I encourage people to go online and check Tony's programs out as well. But we're at getting close to our time. Just a couple other things I want to make sure that we talk about today too, right? We talk about it's the new way to train. And I don't know if it's the new way anymore, right? But realistic, relevant, rigorous training, right? And so I would argue sometimes law enforcement, in the military, a little different. Training pretty darn tough, right? Sometimes in law enforcement, we can train harder. Sometimes those are special teams like SWAT, HRT, and we're not giving it to maybe the masses. Like my agency, all 800 people don't get the same maybe as intensity of some of the training, right? But I do believe that we're doing a better job in law enforcement, period. With regards to things that are more realistic and relevant, time expands, right? Different martial arts. People were working in law enforcement with a specific martial art in the past. Now we're kind of more eclectic. We're more integrated. We're doing greater things with fitness, and we're doing greater things with defending against more guns, knives, ground, et cetera, right? But I believe that we're putting people in positions like if you're a jailer, we're giving you scenarios for the jail. If you're a court person, we're giving you scenarios for the court, et cetera, right? If you're on the street, you're getting scenarios for the street. And you go on again for different law enforcement things that happen, specific calls, even, and then for the military too. And again, moms and dads, right? You can work on different scenarios that a woman's going to face leaving a store, going to her car, coming out of the gym, having the kid in hand, et cetera, right? But I'd like for you to talk a little bit about the training, right? And you refer to that as ballistic microfights. I think what you kind of referred to a little bit earlier. In my system, I call them surprise attacks, right? I refer to them as surprise attacks in this day. But if you can tell a little bit about how maybe some of that training works during the program, like if someone came out to you live for that muscle memory, or so they leave knowing what they learned to basic, simple self-defense techniques. Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. So like each course has a theme. The core of it is based on the central nervous system. So that's why I can take, a military SWAT, cop, mom, dad, school teacher, pilot, doctor, and we've had everyone. And what we do is we teach them from the inside out. We teach them about the neurobiology, kinesiology, psychology, and then we teach them how the body naturally wants to move. And that's, elements of de-escalation, weaponizing the flinch, creating space, then threat discriminating from there. What do you need to do? Is this a stun and run? Do I need to hold the person down? Do I need to escalate or transition to an improvised or a weapon that I'm carrying? But it all starts from the core. There was a guy from Fort Bragg that I was training his troop, and then 9/11 happened, and he deployed. And 2 years later, I came back to train the guys, and he said to me that when he goes into the training side, because they cycle through what they're doing, he's going to do everything he can to get the spear system in there. He says because what he realized in all of the fights he had over the last 2 years, which included multiple death matches, right? I mean, he's downrange. He said, I didn't fully understand everything you were talking about when we were training before. He said, but I realized after what you were talking about, because I would say in every iteration, every class, we need to replicate the violence and the problem, not just focus on the complex motor skill. And I would tell people, don't confuse technical with tactical. Don't confuse technical with tactical. That is one of the biggest mistakes. Combat sports and RBSD, reality-based self-defense instructors, right, is a focus on the technique. Now, a contrarian and a selective listener will misinterpret what I'm saying. I'm not saying don't work on technique. What I am saying is when the shit hits the fan, you need to be tactical, not technical. And if you take that extra, like the gangbanger in the street goes like this, he flinches, he turns, he grabs his gun and he shoots, bang, bang, as he's running, and he hits the cop. The cop takes that extra second to try and get into Weaver or Isosceles or whatever and misses. One guy the bad guy, unfortunately, is using his body naturally, and the good guy is trying to be technical for a bunch of reasons. So that's what the SPEAR system is. So SPEAR is an acronym for Spontaneous Protection Enabling Accelerated Response. It's a scientific look at how to weaponize the startle response and weaponize fear. So all of these courses, whether it's online, my Be Your Own Bodyguard, a one-day course, we have a 90-day online course that's live, BTS 90. They all start with you understanding and changing your relationship with your central nervous system, your survival reflexes, and fear, and then realizing that, if I threw something through the screen right now, you wouldn't do wax on, wax off. If something came through your camera portal, you'd go, whoa, your hands would come up. Same thing for me. So it doesn't matter what our background was, we flinch. And this, when you work the streets, anyone in a motorcycle accident, car accident, or knife fight or gunfight always had trauma on the hands and the forearms. So it didn't matter. You go through a windshield without a seatbelt on, your hands come up before your head hits the window. Someone goes to flash, there's always, slash marks on hands and forearms in knife attack. What does that mean? That means your startle flinch overrides your cognitive brain. And we have a very elegant way of saying this, that when stimulus is introduced too quickly, your executive function is hijacked, your cognitive brain is bypassed, your complex motor skills aren't found because they're stored inside your cognitive brain. But your survival system, the primal growth smarter that goes fetal, that pushes away danger. That's
always going to be there. Always going to be there in act first. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Always. And so that is the biggest thing. So when we talk about, I've got I've trained thousands and thousands of people over the last 40 years, but our affiliates, these are conscientious professionals who don't self-certify because they watched one YouTube video. These are people that train with us and morally, ethically, legally bring the system and add it to their Krav or their jiu-jitsu or their Thai, because there's a lot of people that fall in love with their martial art and their system, but they know deep down, I don't know as much as I could about psychology of fear versus the biology.
Well, you mentioned it too, Tony, though, right? It might have been before we actually came on our conversation we were having before, right? But those that are, 40 years in, you're still learning, right? You're still, you have to continue to train yourself and et cetera. So for time purposes, I do have to move on. Hey, high gear, right? I'm going to do a little promotion for you. I got it at home, right? I use it when I go fight my ladies in my ladies class, let them beat me up, right? It is great equipment, great gear, whether you're a martial arts person or with your own gym or law enforcement, right? So it is great to be able to put on and do realistic force on force scenario-based training. It's amazing. It's protective. You took years to develop this and find someone to actually produce it. So just, a little tidbit, little sales speech for everybody. I love it. It is well worth it.
It took us 5 years to finally get it together. We launched it in 1993. Our first client was Naval Special Warfare. The guys down in Coronado were the first guy. They were like Kickstarter, didn't exist back then, but they were like our Kickstarter. They gave us our first big order, and then I went with that order from the Navy and got funding from a private investor. I said, I believe in this, and these guys do. And he said, here's your money, go. And we started it. Here we are.
So I'm sold on it. Love it. There's a lot of other brands out there too, right? I believe that this is a far superior product. There's all kinds of crazy stuff out there today with huge helmets, and it just I can't go on and explain it, right? So it is an amazing equipment. Last question or two. I want to talk about weaponizing your body and bulletproofing your mind. What are we doing at 66 years old today yourself to continue training? We're getting older. Have you had a modified training? What are you doing with regards to just regenerative medicine, rethinking medicine yourself? In addition to just health and wellness, fitness, nutrition, diet, things like that. Anything you want to mention for people?
Yeah. So I would love. I don't know if you can share the BTS 90 link, but I got asked. I get asked a lot. How do I stay so fit at 66? How do I, if I'm doing a demo or something? I remember doing some seminars 2 years ago, and one of the guys is this guy Matt Ortiz, he's one of these like an insanely dangerous black belt shooter, jiu-jitsu. But I used him in a demo, and I hit him with a couple of moves, and he pulls me aside after. He says, dude, I hope I'm as strong as you when I'm your age. How do you? And part of it isn't that I'm so strong. I am. I've been doing stuff forever. And it's not dad strength. It's I know how to move my body properly. And one thing I want to say here is not about bragging me. It's if you're a 5'3", 125-pound woman, you cannot be a 190-pound, 5'9" man. You listening to this, you're your size, and you got to learn how to move your body wholly with intent when it's time to protect yourself or your family. And so that's the problem. What we do is the whole no fear spear system is about creating an understanding how your body intelligently moves, so that the system becomes how you fight, not how I fight. And that's a big distinction. And I said that in 1980 in my first Black Belt magazine. I said there should be as many self-defense systems as there are people practicing self-defense. And the editor goes, how does that happen? I go, if your system is really teaching people to naturally move, then how I would move as a mesomorph would be different than this guy who's different. And if you got, a bad hip or a bad neck, you built. Kyle Maynard was born with no arms and no legs. He's climbed Kilimanjaro. If you don't know who he is, Google Kyle Maynard MMA and watch this guy grapple. He came to a spear seminar and got certified. This fucking guy has no arms and no legs. He bought high gear for a training partner. He got his credit card out of his wallet faster than you and I can.
Crazy. That's awesome. That is awesome. That is awesome.
What we're talking about is like the power of mind, but he had to apply the science of this differently. So what am I doing? I'm doing the same thing I teach people.
Yep.
It's like
that's amazing, right? And so in my line of work, right, we call that eating your own dog shit sometimes, right? I mean,
it's a weird expression.
I do what I'm asking everybody else to do, right? And it works. And you're still, again, training yourself, still experimenting.
One thing I want to inject, and that's why I said look up the BTS 90 thing, because I now call it tactical snacks, and have been doing that for years. But I realized that's what I've been doing for 30 plus years. I was on the road so much and traveling so much that I'd be brushing my teeth, throwing a punch, or standing on one leg, like me a front kick while I'm brushing my teeth. If I heard something in the house, my hands would shoot out, and I'd cut the pie and scan and throw a palm strike. And I was always just messing around with stuff, and I realized that I was doing thousands more reps than if I just went to the school and trained from 7 to 9, because I was doing stuff all the time. So I created this whole program on how do you improve situational awareness and spontaneity. How do you educate the reticular activating system in your brain? Because when we go train, like, are you going to train today?
Yeah, I am going to train today. Yep.
What time are you going to teach?
I'm not teaching today. On Friday night, I don't teach, but I will train today. So I will do some fitness. I am definitely going to do some kettlebell workout today and hitting the bag.
So where I'm going with this is you're going to decide when the fight happens.
Yep.
You're going, I'm going to hit the bag at 6:30 tonight. And then I'm going to shower and go, right? But if while you're wrapping your hands, someone snuck up behind you and went, hey, turn around and threw the punch, you do a flinch first, then you beat him up. Okay? But what I'm trying to get people to say is, like, the bad guy and the time of the fight in a true ambush is
never know.
And so the tactical snacks creates this different level of spontaneity the way we designed it. And it's the workouts are a minute long, 2 minute long, 3 minute, 5 minute. You don't know.
That's awesome.
It's wild.
It's awesome too. Even in my coaching, I promote rituals, like morning ritual, afternoon ritual, evening rituals, right? Spot rituals. So those are like spot rituals. Like anytime you have some free time or you want to do something or your buddy surprises you, right? You can add in all these things. Hey, I'll get some of those links from you too at the end here, or from Jenny, your person that works with you, to make sure I promote some of that too. But hey, everybody, we're short on time. I want to thank Tony for being here today, Coach Blauer. Again, unbelievable. I want to thank you for your 4 decades plus worth of work from my community that I work in too. Extremely important that we have experts in the field that are doing what you do for us as well. It is much, much appreciated. I want everyone else to go to Blauer Spear, BLAUER Spear, SPER.com. It's a website that's out there to start looking at the different programs, whether that's in person, online, etc. And I'll make sure that I post some other links when I post some of the shorts on social media as well. Tony, anything else to add as far as where someone can go to find you real quick?
No, this was fun. You hit it. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm more active on Instagram, and there's a really good link that has all my most important stuff, like free ebooks and stuff like that, called hub.blauertactical.com. So HEB hub.blauertactical.com, and it'll just give you all the
there's some there's some free resources out there that you have too, right? So the SHTF Shit's the fan ebook, etc. Right? That's out there for people too. All right, awesome. Hey everybody, you know the drill. Until next time, thank you, Tony. Until next time, train hard, train smart, train safe, train real, and train for life. We'll see you in the next one, everybody. Thank you for being here.